Hey Cakey family, today we are making Halloween cakesicles. Hope you enjoy. So I'm using some black candy melts and I'm piping them into a mould I bought online. It was from Amazon. It was super cheap. I think I paid about £9 English for 4 different moulds. They were fantastic. Tapping them just to loosen any air bubbles up to the surface and pop them in the fridge. Next we're filling the first cavity with black candy melts left over, and then I'm using a clear acrylic ball tool to smooth it round. You don't have to, you can use a brush or a spatula. And then we're popping the stick in the bottom, and then we're just using a little bit more candy melts just to seal that stick in there and make sure it really stays in. And then we're colouring our next lot, which is going to be white. I use some titanium dioxide, and then we're just colouring that up just to take the yellow tint off the chocolate. This one's for the mummy, again smoothing it around with the ball tool and using the bench scraper just to neaten it up at the end around the edges. Make sure you really get those edges because they can be a bit of a devil, and then the cake shows through and it doesn't look very nice when it's done. And then popping your stick in the bottom nice and secure, and then just sealing it round again. The next thing that we're going to do is colour a little bit more chocolate. This one is going to be, I can't remember, 1 second, it's green. So we're colouring it green. This is for Frankenstein. And we're just mixing it up and making sure we get that colour really nice and even. And then this is going to go in the next cavity in the mould. I'm not putting these in the fridge in between. I'm just popping them on my workbench until I'm ready with them all filled. Again, smoothing it around with the ball tool and scraping it off with the bench scraper and sealing in the bottom. Every time, always the same. And then the next one, we're colouring a little bit more chocolate. This one's going to be purple. I remembered that one. Yeah, so we're just using some candy colouring. These just melt down in the microwave, ready for you to use. They're really simple if you can't get the pre-made colours, which I couldn't because of the time of year. They were all sold out everywhere. The knife balanced along the bottom is not me going crazy. That's to hold the sticks in place because they haven't been frozen or put in the fridge yet. They don't balance very well and the sticks tend to flop into the cases, which I don't want to happen. So it's just as a bit of weight. Again, popping the stick in and sealing it in. And then these went in the fridge for 10 minutes just to set up. Everybody's chocolate will be different, so check yours before you start putting any cake or anything like that in. While they're setting up, I just made some more decks. So this one's a pumpkin, so we coloured this little bit of chocolate orange. Again, using the candy colouring because I couldn't get pre-made. Does the job brilliantly, to be honest, and saves having to buy loads of different bags of loads of different colours. Again, getting it all nice and even, and then I popped it into a piping bag and snipped off a tiny bit at the end because it really helps just get into those crevices rather than just pouring it on and hoping for the best. So we're just piping all around. It's a really, really rubbish angle and I do apologise about that. I really hope that you like me doing the voiceovers on the videos and that it works well for you because I hate the sound of my own voice, so this took a lot for me to do, but I hope this is a lot easier for you to follow along at home. So once we've done that, that one just goes into the fridge to set, and then I just did another tiny little pumpkin in one of the other moulds that I just whipped out of the fridge for a second, and then we go on to preparing our cake. I'm using a food processor. You can do it by hand or in a stand mixer. I prefer this method because it gives me a really fine crumb. Whiz it up on full speed for less than a minute, probably about 10-20 seconds. Pop it into a bowl and we pop in some buttercream. This is a vanilla cake with vanilla buttercream. Everybody's mixture will mix up differently according to how moist your cake is, what type of cake you're using. This was offcut, so they tend to be a little bit drier. So it did take a little bit more buttercream than my standard cake recipe would take. If I was making these for an order, which I wasn't, I was only making them to do a video and for my examples for my business. If I was making them for an order, I would use a proper cake, so it would take less buttercream than this. We're trying to get a Play-Doh consistency. Everyone knows what Play-Doh feels like. It should roll smoothly and not crack or anything like that. And then we're going to go on and fill our cavities once they've been in the fridge. So we're being really, really gentle here and go around those sticks. Don't go over the top of them. Don't go pushing on them because they will pop into the cavity and then it will ruin the bottom of the cakesicle, which is what you don't want to happen. You need to leave 1 to 2 millimeters above the edge of the case so that you can get another smooth layer of chocolate over the top, because otherwise you're not going to get a good seal and they're not going to last very long. Everybody's cakesicles will last differently. I advise my clients around 5 days for best before. But I would certainly, if you're going to sell them, advise conducting your own experiments just to see how long your own recipes last. Some people's might be longer, some people might be shorter. Also depends on your climate, what type of chocolate you're using, what type of cake you're using. Some cakes may last less time than others. So we're just filling all those cavities, like I say, really, really carefully, and to be sure that we're not overfilling those cavities. For some reason I didn't film all 4, I don't know why, but I used corresponding colours according to which one was which. You can see it at the side, you've got the purple, the green, the white and the black. And then we pop them back in the fridge just for a quick 5 minutes for those tops to seal. I use my bench scraper just to get it really neat across the tops as well. And then we pop them out. I tend to push on the sides just a little bit, just to loosen them off before I push them out with the stick. Don't try and pull on the stick, and then decorating the mummy first. So we've got some white candy melts in a bag with a fairly large end snipped off. And then I just used some goggly eyes by PME just to glue them on. I used the candy melts as glue. So that goes on really well, and then we just need to smooth around the edge. You'll see me do that in a second once we lift it off the decoration mat. This is a non-stick mat that I bought that works really, really well. There we go, just smoothing the edge. And onto the next one, which is the purple one. So we're popping some candy melts, melted candy melts across the top. We're using a Witch Please mix by Happy Sprinkles. I love their sprinkles, they're one of my favourites. And we're just popping a few select bits on, and then we're decorating with the bats. Again, I use the candy melts as glue. No need to use any actual glue here at the minute. We will need to do it in a minute though. And then gluing those on. Here we go, and on to the next one in a moment. Bear with me, hey. Like and subscribe, guys, like and subscribe. So we're going for the next one, and we're doing the orange across that and popping the pumpkins on, which we did earlier. The little one's stalk broke, so I just piped that on, no problem there. And then on to Frankenstein. He was a slight bit more work. Goggly eyes again, PME, no need to make them. And then we rolled out some black modelling paste, and I cut the edge with a little, sorry, the angle on this was terrible, what's wrong with me? I cut the edge with a triangle cutter. It's right there and I couldn't remember the word. Triangle cutter, and I did use a little bit of edible glue just to glue this fondant onto his head. And then I rounded it off with a knife, which you'll see me do in a moment, just to get it nice and neat. Rather than trying to cut it to the size first time, we're just cutting around the cakesicle instead. And then I used candy melts to stick some dragies to the sides. I think they're 4mm dragies to the sides for his bolts. And then I used some of the melted candy melts just to pipe on a mouth, and obviously you can do whichever sort of design you'd like. If you want a slightly different face, go ahead, why not? Creative freedom and all that. I'm really sorry, I don't know what happened to the angle there. There's me realising that I messed up, I'm sorry. And there we go, just piping. I did take my gloves off to do him because I couldn't do the bolts with. So yeah, if you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe, support a small channel. Thank you, bye.